Hello, hello, hello. It is Dr. Pam Turner, and this is one of our shorts. Today, we're going to do a brief overview of Erik Erikson. So, Erikson has 8 stages. If you remember that, he has 8 letters in his name. Erickson's, right? So you can count. And really, so we'll see some comparison between Erikson and Freud. So if you remember those first 3 stages of Freud, trust versus mistrust, I'm sorry, of Erikson, trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, and initiative versus guilt, do match the same first three of Freud. Oral, anal, phallic. And according to Freud, of course, that's where psychosexual development occurred. So let's talk a little bit about Erikson. So you'll see where that connection comes in with Anna Freud, right? So they met to school. They met at Vienna Psychoanalytic Institute. So his 8 stages, he's the only one that looks at childhood through all the way through adulthood. Okay. And what he really said is if they don't resolve the crisis, if we don't resolve the crisis at a particular stage, then we'll have problems in a later stage. So as we go through, you'll see the term identity crisis. So if we look at that ages, identity versus role confusion, right? That's going to be between 13 and 21. That's an identity crisis. So that's what that looks for. Okay. So you get stuck in that stage. The word he would use is you can't go past because you've had a crisis. Of course, that first one is mistrust versus trust. I know your mother said, leave that baby in the crib, don't pick it up. Erikson would agree. He said that if when babies cry, if mom, the caregiver, is very responsive, they learn that the world can be a very safe place. The stage is all about fulfilling the baby's needs. The baby needs to trust the world. That's so they know they're safe. If they're not fed or their diaper is left dirty, they grow up believing that the world is not a safe place. That's stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt. So I always remember this one. So this is going to be that toilet training stage, right? So I always think autonomy. Yay! I got on my big girl underwear. I'm so happy, right? Some Barbie, some whatever, and then I have an accident. Right? So 18 to 3 years, the most important event is toilet training and the important relationship with the parent. The child's energy is directed toward mastering physical skills. The child learns self control, but may develop shame and doubt, impulsivity, or compulsions if not well handled. Okay. And again, the baby tries to handle their own bowels. Sometimes they do a poopy in their pants and get yelled at. So, what the goal is, we're learning to control ourselves in reasonable ways. We develop a healthy will, right? And we're able to face the challenges of life later. Initiative versus guilt, that is my 3 to 6. Those are my preschool kids, right? So at this point, important event is independence and the important relationship in the family. The child continues to become more assertive and exploration, discovery, adventure, and play. The child may show too much force in this stage, causing feelings of guilt. Remember, he is also a follower of Freud at this stage. So, one of the questions that you might see on the test is a little girl who asks her mother some questions about sex or private parts, and mother says, "No, we can't talk about that. Don't talk about that," right? So, that is the initiative, and the guilt would be then telling them to shut up or not talk about it. Okay, so they feel guilty, and later on in life, they'll avoid being inquisitive, right? And we don't want to get stuck in that stage. Stage 4, industry versus inferiority. So, one of the ways that I always teach this is remember what you're good at. That is your industry. You've probably seen other videos, right? And I live in Chattanooga, right? We're learning for the Chattanooga Choo Choo, outdoor rock climbing. We're between the mountains. It's a very beautiful city. So that's our industry, right? Lots of tourism. The Coca-Cola bottling plant was started here. So that's what we're known for. So if you remember back what you were known for, or maybe as parents, what your kids are good at. So that's the importance, is to learn what I'm good at. The goal of this stage is to develop competency. So if I don't learn what I'm good at, then according to Erikson, I'll grow up and I'll feel inferior for the rest of my life. So most often it's school. Okay, so I'll tell you before I was a spelling bee champ, right? But I also wasn't good at sports. So luckily I was good in school because if sports had been something I should have been good at, I would have definitely felt inferior. I was the last kid picked on every team, right? And mind you, I'm like 5'9". I've been this height since I was in like fifth grade. So, but yeah, so sports were not my thing, but luckily school was. So that helped me feel confident, right, in some area. So I didn't feel inferior. Okay. So, most often, again, this is school. Okay, so if they try to get answer the they try to answer the question, but get it wrong. They said that even this could start a speech impediment, right? That the school child will feel inferior. So I always going to say to you to make sure that your child is in some place that they do feel they do feel um, inferior. They do feel superior. They do know what their industry is. And if it's not school, let's make it something else because we all need to feel good about that. And those are elementary school ages. So now I am in stage 5, identity versus role confusion. So this one says 12 to 20, and many times I'll teach 13 to 21. The test is not that hard. They're not going to try to, do that to you. Okay, so the most important is development of peer relations, right? So when I'm 13 or 12 or 13, I just want to be like everybody else. But mom, everybody else has the iPhone 67,000, right? I want one too. I'm old. So it's like, I want those Diane von Furstenberg jeans, right? That was the time, the cool times having things. So everybody, you want to be like everybody else, right? So you, the teenager struggle with a sense of self and your occupation, your sex roles, your political religion. You're trying to get away from mom and dad and be your own person, right? So the goal of this, of course, is to end up being who you are. So again, this one says role diffusion. We also can see role confusion. So if at 13 we're going to dress like our girlfriends, call them up, hey, that's right, let's go wear our hair in ponytails, let's all get our nails done. That's what we want to fit in to be like everybody else. But we don't want that when we're at 20 or 21, do we? If we go to the party and we're all dressed alike, somebody got to go home, right? You can't be wearing my dress. That's not cool. In that stage, also, that's where your sexual identity is going to develop. So if I know who I am, right, then I know who I like. If I know that I like tall boys, short boys, green boys, red girls, whatever, right? Then that leads me to the next stage where I'm going to be an intimate. So until I know who I am, right, fidelity is true to myself, then I can't be in a relationship with anybody. So 20 to 40, right? That's intimacy versus isolation. And really, what he said is you really have to have at least one intimate relationship. Okay, so between 20 and 40. So the important event is parenting. Important relationships are lovers, friends, and work connections. In this stage, the individual must develop intimate relationships. Okay, so, work, life, social life, marriage, romantic, but some intimate relationships. And he said, if you don't do that by the time you're age of 40, then you're really going to be stuck in that stage. Okay, so remember with Erikson, he said in those crises, you could get stuck. So let's say the question says the woman is, 55 and she spent her entire life building her career, and now she wants to look for a romantic relationship. So according to Erikson, she is really still stuck in this intimacy stage because she never mastered this stage. Okay. So, according to Erikson, right? If my 40, if you hadn't, or 39, right? You're going to be an old maid or old man. I don't know what that'd be called. But anyway, the goal is to get through these stages. You have to learn the ages and the stages because the ages may not line up. So I need to know that I can be 55 and stuck in this stage. Let's go back to that identity versus role confusion. So the question may say something about a woman who is in her 40s, and you ask her an opinion, and she says what everybody else thinks. Or she's in the business place and she goes along with what everybody else says. That means she never discovered her own identity. She doesn't have her own opinion, right? So then she's still stuck in that stage, no matter how old she is. Okay, this is the stage I'm in, stage 7, middle age, so generativity versus stagnation. So, in this stage, the important event is parenting, and important relationships are with children and the community. This stage is based on the idea that each adult must find a satisfying, supporting, and contributing way to the next generation. So at this age, right, I'm 56. I don't have another good 56 years left, right? 56 good years at least. So the goal is that, when I'm gone, I've left a legacy, whether it's with my children or with my business, right? I really want to help turn out some of the best social workers and counselors, definitely, right? So failure to resolve this stage can lead to overextension or anxiety. So what he said is, if we reach our mid 30s to mid 50s, we examine to look at our own life, right? We're going to look at, did we change people's lives? Was the world a better place because we were here? If not, then I'm stagnated. And what it may look like on the test question is, a man is divorced and his children are um, late teens or early adults, and he figures they'll be fine on his own, on their own, right? Because he's got a new wifey and he's fine. So he's stagnated, right? He's just living for now. He's not worried about leaving a legacy. He's not going anything higher. He's just kind of done, right? So generativity means I'm regenerating and I'm really going up, still making sure that I leave a legacy, that it matters that I was on this earth. And if I'm stagnated, I'm just done. Put a fork in me, right? I'm done. So that leads me to my last stage. So in this stage, he said, I learned wisdom. I'm just saying, Erikson, couldn't I have learned wisdom a little bit earlier? Just me. So this is old age, integrity versus despair. So what I'm looking at is, did I live my life with purpose? It's 65, but of course, during Erikson's time, we didn't live much longer than 65. But what I'm looking at is ego integrity. Like, I'm looking back over my life. I'm thinking, wow, you had a career, you left a legacy for your children, for the world. You raised your kids, you had a good life. So I'm ego integrity. So I'm good. I'm good with my choices. I did what I was supposed to do. On the other hand, despair, and I think we all know people that are just too angry to die, right? The shoulda, coulda, wouldas. So the goal is not to be there, because we want to get through all of those stages correctly, right? So we don't end up with despair at the end of our time. So, did we live a good life? Did we leave a legacy or friends? If we felt like there were many lost opportunities along the way, we may fall into despair. Okay, so I thank you for watching my short, and I hope you found Erikson helpful. And check back later, because we'll pick up many, many more of these shorts. And also remember to subscribe to my channel so you'll make sure that you get these when they're first uploaded. Thanks a lot, guys.